Recording in progress.
Good afternoon, everyone. Thank you for coming. I'm going to call this meeting to order and ask if there's any interest this afternoon under the Municipal Conflict of Interest Act. Thank you very much. Seeing none, we'll move along. Got a resolution moved by Deputy Mayor Anderson, seconded by Councillor Gunson, that the minutes of the town of Minto, January 7th, 2025 regular council meeting be approved. All in favor of the motion? It's carried. Thank you. Resolution moved by Councillor Zimmerman, seconded by Councillor Elliott, that the town of Minto Council convene into committee of the whole. All in favor of that? It's carried. Thank you. We have no public meetings this afternoon, and we have no delegations. We're at public question period, and the mayor, as chair of the meeting, has a duty to preserve order and maintain decorum throughout the meeting. Although council strives to hear and be responsive to resident concerns in order to preserve order, maintain decorum, and comply with the town's procedural bylaw, I wish to caution any participants in a question period that number one, questions that use discourteous language will not be permitted. Number two, questions that seek policies or bylaws outside the town's jurisdictions, including policies or bylaws that might violate human rights legislation, will not be permitted. Number three, anything that constitutes speeches or statements not in the form of questions will not be permitted, and repeat questions will not be permitted, including the repetition of questions from prior meetings. Number five, all persons shall be limited to no more than two questions. So we have a public question period. Any questions today? All right. Seeing none, we'll move into correspondence. We have two items correspondence today, and I have a recommendation moved by Councillor Dirksen, seconded by Councillor Potnovitz. The council received the correspondence as information. Two items. One to do with cycling lanes. Second to do with Ontario Heritage Act. Anybody want to talk about either one of those two? Hearing none, then I'm going to call the question. All in favor? It's carried. Thank you. Okay, we'll move into staff reports, and I'll pass the chair over to Councillor Gunson.
Thank you, Mayor Turton. So 3 reports today, and Mike is here to report on DWQMS stuff.
Thank you, Councillor Gunson. First report I'm bringing is the DWQMS 2024 external audit report. The report was completed on October 1st, 2024. No non-conformances or no opportunities for improvement were identified.
Perfect.
Short and sweet.
Thanks, Mike. I'll read the recommendation. Moved by Councillor Zimmerman, second by Deputy Mayor Anderson, that the Council of the Town of Minto hereby receives report PW 2025-001 2024 DWQMS external audit outcome prepared by the QMS representative for information purposes, and further that the Council of the Town of Minto approves and endorses the 2024 DWQMS external audit outcome report. Any questions for Mike? Councillor Dirksen.
Thank you, Chair Gunson. So these reports all kind of run together. So I'm not sure if this is the time to ask this question or if it's the next report. Okay.
Good.
But there's the audit report, the 12-month surveillance audit.
Yep.
Is that now I should ask that question, or is that?
That's this one that,
Okay.
yeah, the 2024
So
one.
my question is, they talk about this being a year-long surveillance report, but it looks like it's one day.
So they do the review or the audit based on the previous 12 months. So from October 2023 to the current one that's the 12-month surveillance audit. So the 2025 audit, which is scheduled for October 7th of 2025, it will cover the period from October 1st, 2024 to October 2025.
Okay, so this is a typo then, because this says October 1st, start date October 1st, 24, end date October 1st, 24. So it's obviously a typo then. Because I couldn't figure out how it was covering a year, but it was only 1 day test. So that's a typo then in the report, is it?
Yeah.
Okay, that makes me feel so much better. Thank you.
Any other questions? Seeing none, I'll call for the vote. All in favor? It's passed. On to number 2, Mike.
Second report is the 2024 management review. That was presented to the Management Review Committee on December 18th of 2024. Our ministry inspections for last year, Clifford, Hairston, and Palmerston all received a score of 100%. Minto Pines did receive a score of 96.57. This was due to a UPS or an uninterrupted power supply failure, which caused no power to our SCADA PLC panel. Therefore, it was not collecting any of the operational data. So we responded as quickly as possible. We checked everything. We swapped out restored power to the PLC, so it was now collecting its data and back in compliance, tested the alarms, notified the ministry, and no further corrective action was required at that point. But because we lost the data points, and unfortunately that affects our ministry score. There were 2 AWQIs during the reporting period. The first one was from the commissioning of the new Minto Pines production well. We issued a precautionary boil water advisory just with the tankered water and the new well and coming online and whatnot. So that was more just of a precautionary reasoning. That well came back online or was back on May 10th of 2024. The second AWQI or adverse water quality incident was during our regular BACT sampling. A distribution location in Palmerston received a total coliform hit of 1. We immediately went out and flushed, resampled, and upon receiving the resample results, they were all clear and we were able to close that incident. 3 water main breaks and 1 service line repair were completed in the reporting period 2024. 2023 external audit was completed October 23rd and November 2nd. 2023 with 1 minor nonconformance identified. We put corrective action in place before the auditor was even done his audit on site. He accepted the corrective action and our renewed accreditation certificate was issued. The 2024 internal audit was completed with no nonconformances and 2 opportunities for improvement identified. And I just mentioned the 2024 audit was no nonconformances and no opportunities for improvement. Our water taking levels are projected to be similar to the totals in 2023. However, once these developments start to fill up and whatnot within Minto, then it's projected that the flow totals will increase or whatever with those developments. Complaints were down from 2023 by a decent amount. Continuing the larger number of complaints and requests from our staff are due to high water bills and data logging requests and whatnot that way. Arsenic sampling in Clifford continues to be conducted on a quarterly basis. Some other general highlights are the work is going to be being started here very early or soon for the municipal drinking water license and permit renewals, which are the application is due to be submitted on November 25th, 2025, with an expiry date of June of next year. The financial report, the updated financial plan is in the works as we need that to be able to meet the requirements of the license renewal requirements. Some SCADA upgrades to panels and some cybersecurity upgrades were completed. Other development projects, Derby Street Road construction is complete. And new well exploration in Harrison and Palmerston continue with the EA process in progress. That's it for me.
Thanks, Mike. I'll read the recommendation. Excuse me. Moved by Counselor Dirksen, seconded by Mayor Turton.
Thank you.
That the council of the town of Minto hereby receives PW report 2025-002. That should say receives report PW 2025-002. DWQMS management review and the management review meeting outcome report prepared by the QMS representative for information purposes. And further, that the council of the town of Minto approves and endorses the 2024 DWQMS management review and the management review meeting outcome reports. Any questions from Mike? Deputy Mayor Anderson.
So the arsenic, it's constantly high in Clifford. Is that just a natural occurrence because of the mineral composition of the soil or?
Yeah, it's just a naturally occurring chemical in the groundwater. It exceeds half of the maximum standard, which requires us to sample it on a quarterly basis. It continues to be less than the maximum allowable concentration, which is 10. So it just means that we need to continue sampling on a quarterly basis.
So it says that treatment for arsenic is very costly. What is the treatment for arsenic?
It would involve some filtration, chemically assisted filtration. It would bigger building to house the filtration, additional levels of certification for our operators, because it would be, as soon as you do any sort of filtration, it becomes a treatment certification, which right now all of our systems are classed as distribution and supply. So it would be a very big impact to the water operations if we ever were to go down that path, which hopefully we never do. Hopefully we continue the path that we're on right now and whatnot. But yes, it is very, very extensive for what needs to be in.
I was just curious what they did, whether they had something they added to the water to counteract it, because we know arsenic's not very good for us. And the sodium is approaching levels that are fairly high as well. And I'm assuming from the comments in here, we're assuming that's from salt on the roads leaching into the water system.
Yeah, quite possibly. Like they say that kind of whatever you do now, you will not see for 20 plus years down the road. So even if we completely eliminated sodium and salt, it's not saying that the levels still wouldn't increase. They may not. We are doing additional sampling to try and build some sort of trending because the requirement is only to sample that once every 5 years. So we're just trying to be proactive with our extra sampling so that we can hopefully see a trend or something along those lines to be able to have some sort of idea as to what's going to happen in the future.
And the strontium that's not currently regulated, but you still measure it?
Yep, we still measure it just to kind of keep tabs on what the levels are in our groundwater, so that if and when it ever does become a regulatory requirement, we would be ahead of a lot of other municipalities out there. Some places, I believe, haven't even heard of that particular parameter yet. So the fact that we're aware of it and keeping kind of tabs on it and whatnot that way will just be that much further ahead if and when it ever does come to be a regulatory requirement.
Yeah, thank you very much. And I would just like to make a comment, if I may. We just got back from Roma, Dave and I, this morning, and water systems are still a major topic at those discussions. And Walkerton, 25 years apparently the anniversary, but the effects of Walkerton were devastating, and we commend you for the work you do, and we thank you for keeping our citizens safe. Thank you very much.
Mayor Turton.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. Backing up to the audit report, Mike, Paul Cartledge, has he been here before? Has he been our team leader in reference to the team member? Has he been here before in Minto?
Yeah, he completed the accreditation audit in 23. He did the surveillance audit last year, and he is slated to do the second surveillance audit this year.
To have no room for improvement or anything like that, that says a lot from a person that's been here 2 or 3 times.
Yep, it definitely says a lot, but yeah, it's definitely one of those things that it's always nice to, with the element 21 continual improvement. We're always striving to continually improve, so we don't solely look on the auditor for means, but he's seen many different operational plans. So anything that he can suggest to us, we always welcome and try to bring it into play and whatnot that way. So yes, it is good that he's not identifying anything, but at the same time, it's not a terrible thing if he does identify some opportunities for improvement as well. So
Yeah, understood. Let's talk for a second about the UPS. What time of day did it go down? Like, and so automatically when something like that happens, you get a phone call or somebody gets a phone call?
yeah, we would receive a communication alarm, and then we would go on to SCADA and check it, and then that's where we would see we would have no communication with the site. And then we would mobilize somebody to that site to see if what exactly is going on, if there's no power or whatever is going on. It was in the morning that occurred. We are actually working with Center Wellington IT to look at it into possible solutions for this so that it doesn't happen again, or at least have additional monitoring capabilities that will notify us that we may be seeing some sort of like wanky power issues or something like that out there that might alert us to a possible issue with it or whatnot that way. But we are looking into ways to mitigate and hopefully eliminate that from ever happening again.
Last item then was the cost of chlorine, 20% rise in cost. Did they ever say, like, what is chlorine made of? Why is it continuing to go up?
Thankfully, the last couple of years, it has not gone up in price. There, right after the pandemic, it definitely jumped up considerably. I couldn't tell you the exact components of what it is necessarily made of and whatnot that way. I was pleased to see that it hadn't gone up in the last couple of years or whatever, but the increases that we got the few years prior almost make up, or it was a significant enough jump that it kind of still carries over or whatever that way. And unfortunately, I don't ever see the cost going back down. But yeah, it was nice to see that it at least has kind of hopefully plateaued as to where it is right now for cost wise.
Good. Also, I'd like to echo Deputy Mayor Anderson. Thank you for the good work that you and your staff, your guys out there, guys and gals, do to keep our water safe and just make sure they understand that we appreciate it. So,
Yep. No,
thank you.
Definitely pass that along.
Any other questions? Councilor Zimmerman.
Thank you, Chairman Gunson. I couldn't help but notice, Mike, in your reports that the #1 complaint is and continues to be the high price of water. I don't know what we can do about that. I mean, we always say it's a user pay system. It is what it is, but the complete lack of incentive for conserving water is worrisome. Hypothetically speaking, if we have 10 people, 9 of them continue to use water as is, and 1 is very conservative, saving water, he's still paying the same price as those other 9 people. And I think that's a bit unfair. I would like to see some kind of an incentive program, and that's probably more in the administration part of it, but that's my comment. I'd really like to start conversations in that direction.
Yeah, to go along with that, the The high bills are, yes, the cost of the water is increasing because the cost to maintain our systems is gone up along with pretty much everything these days. But those issues and high bills are, say if a person had an issue with their softener where it had stuck on and it was constantly running, therefore they would seem like they've been using a ton of water when it was a malfunctioning water softener, or say a toilet where the flapper is not seated and it's constantly using water. Though all that water ends up getting put on like to their bill or showing on their bill or whatever that way. So then we would go do a data download of their past usage for the last 2 months, be able to identify like this day, this time, this is when it went up, and we can help. We often will go around through the house, see if we can see a softener that is stuck on, a toilet leaking or something like that, to try and help out the homeowner to rectify that issue. And then with the one-time forgiveness thing, then certain people can apply for that and kind of, make that go away for that particular bill or whatever that way. But they have to show that they've made the repairs and done the work to rectify their issue moving forward.
Very true. I agree with that 100%. I mean, you can't, any man-made product is gonna fail at some point or other.
Mhm.
The point I'm trying to make is that somebody that's being very frugal in their water usage, the reward for that is paying the same price as somebody that isn't. And I think that is unfair.
Gord, I think you might have a comment on
Sure.
this.
Yes, Counselor Zimmerman. In our water rates, we have a fixed component and a variable component. So yes, they'll all pay the same fixed component, but if you use less water, you will pay less than someone that's using a lot. And I know like even at my house, take for example, last summer, I laid down some sod and I was using more water. That showed up directly. And then when I stopped watering, that reduced too. So there is a blend of per unit, and consumption does vary. Maybe Elvis will say
It's in there
something.
It is in here somewhere.
Throw you first.
Sorry about that.
No worries. Yes, I guess the frustrating part is that there doesn't seem to be any end to it, that it's just the rates are gonna go up and up and up. And how far are we, or where are we compared to, say, the Ontario average?
Well, so we know we're going through a water and rate study again. So as part of that, they always do a list of comparators. Generally in the area, and there's usually maybe 15 or so. So we're around the middle to sometimes a little lower, sometimes a little higher. And if you see someone that's like well behind, well below us, we find out, and they're in the last stage of their water bylaw, and then they do the next study. Unfortunately, as Mike indicates, realistically, I don't see costs going down either, because all the factors that go into it, and it is probably one of the most heavily regulated areas of all the things that we do as a town. And every time we have one of those management reviews, Todd and Mike will say, well, there's a proposal, and it's never a proposal to dial back. It's to increase. And as we mentioned in the arsenic discussion, everything is more expensive, and the capital costs have gone incredibly high, which we know we will be facing soon. So,
Well, I'll take that into consideration. And,
yeah, I wish it was the other way too.
yeah, I mean, I feel for people that are just barely making ends meet, and think We have to kind of weigh both sides of the coin when we're making our rates. So anyway, we'll leave it at that.
Are you happy with that or you're just okay with it?
I'm just okay.
Okay.
Thank you.
And just touching on the water leaks and like the leaking and stuff. First thing I look at in my bill, it'll actually tell you the days of leaks in your house. Like actually say that right on your water bill so that if I look and I'm like 5 or 6 days, I grab my kids and I'm like, hey, why we leaving the water running or why we make sure we shut those taps off, right? But it actually says right on your bill the number of days that there's leaks or whatever too. So something else to check. Any other questions? Councillor Elliott.
I just want to say we pretty well pay what it costs us to operate. You don't raise the prices to get more money in. So whatever it costs us, we have to pay. And the other part of it is I'm fairly frugal with how I use my water and I benefit from it. I do very well compared to my neighbor who seems to wash their car and do a lot of things, and they'll come to me and I said, well, just stop doing that. And you can't, so it's there. It's unfortunate. It's like everything else, costs and costs and costs. And it costs you more, your business, your water tables and stuff costs us to use them. So yeah, I think you guys did a great job.
Any further questions? Seeing none, I'll call for the vote. All in favor? It's passed. Thank you. Third one, Mike, bulk water taking annual summary. Or Todd, you're doing that? Okay, sorry, Mike. You're off the hook. Todd, you're up.
Thanks, Councilor Gunson. Yeah, so this is our annual report for bulk water taking. So in our policy, it states once a year, we'll take a look at the numbers, and this is that one time a year. So our policy states that we can use 0.725% for bulk water compared to the total takings of all our water from the previous year. So last year we used about 0.3%, which is nowhere near what our max is. You can see in the report there's a table of the companies that are using the water. Last year for bulk water, we used a total of 1,881.5 cubic meters. And that equated to a revenue for bulk water of $7,946.88. Yeah, the companies listed there, the majority of what was used was for construction purposes. The one company there does do some local pool filling, so that would be some of it. And they also were involved helping us with supplying water to Minto Pines when we were under construction out there. So yeah, I'm willing to answer any questions if anybody has any.
Thanks, Todd. I'll read the recommendation. Moved by Councillor Elliott, second by Councillor Dirksen, that the Council of the Town of Minto hereby receives report PW 2025-003, 2024 bulk water taking annual summary, prepared by the Water Services Manager for information purposes. Any questions for Todd? Councillor Budwitz.
Yes, to Councillor Benson. Do you know the Weaver Construction, is that water for the hydrovac truck?
The hydrovac, and then they use it in their boring process too. They in those
For
units
the
that they
directional
drill the
boring?
fiber with, yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
All right, just curious.
Any other questions? Seeing none, I'll call for the vote. All in favor? That's passed. Thank you. Thanks, Mike and Todd.
Thank you.
And I'm going to pass the chair to Councillor Dirksen.
Thank you, Councillor Gunson. We have two items on the finance agenda this afternoon. And Deputy Treasurer Tanya Robertson is going to report to us on those.
Thank you. Through you, Chair Dirksen, to members of council. Section 357 and 358 of the Municipal Act allows ratepayers to submit an application for a reduction in taxes, typically based on physical changes or classification changes to a property. For example, a house that is demolished so a new house can be constructed in its place, or a farm property changes ownership and the new owners are no longer using a shed for commercial purposes, but rather agricultural. And that changes the tax classification. These applications are received at our office and then they are sent to MPAC for processing. Before they are returned to us with the after they are returned to us with the assessment adjustments noted. Staff then process the change based on MPAC's direction. The write-off amount is divided up between the county, the school board, and the town respectively. And for 2024, the town's portion of the total amount of write-offs related to 357s and 358s was $10,347.62, and these were for the tax years 2022 to 2024.
Thank you. Are there any questions? Counselor.
What would our share of the $10,000 be?
That is our share.
That is our share.
That's our share. There was a chart that accompanied the report, which laid out the county's share and the school boards.
Okay.
The county's is obviously more than ours because they receive more of a tax dollar than we do.
Right. Okay, see that now. Thanks.
No problem.
Focus on another hand.
Yeah,
Mayor-
thank you,
Mayor Kurt.
Madam Chair. So appeals, where does that show up? So I'm appealing my taxes.
That's on the next report.
So that's the very next one, okay.
Yeah.
No rushes. One thing at a time here.
Sorry, pardon me. I'll ask it again in a minute.
Okay.
Are there any other questions? Okay, seeing none, I will read the recommendation. Moved by Counselor Gunson, seconded by Counselor Ponowitz, that the Council of the Town of Minto hereby receives report Finance 2025-003, 2024, Section 357 applications prepared by the Deputy Treasurer for information purposes. All in favor? Thank you. That carries. And we'll move on to the second report.
All right, through you, Chair Dirksen, to members of council. Section 40 of the Assessment Act requires the town to amend the assessment roll with decisions made by the Assessment Review Board. The town is also required to approve any adjustments under sections 19.1 and 32 of the Assessment Act as related to advisory notices of adjustment, post-roll amended notices, special amendment notices, and requests for reconsideration. These assessment changes and requests for reconsideration are all submitted directly to MPAC, and the town receives documentation of the adjustments once MPAC or the ARB is complete with the application. The town bears its cost to the write-offs, and the County of Wellington and school boards bear their costs respectively. The impact on assessment changes for 2024 has resulted in a write-off amount of $113,886.32. The large share of this amount results from appeal decisions that were finalized in 24 and were for the tax years 2019 to 2024.
So there's a little bit of catch up here then.
Appeals usually take quite a while to get through, especially when they're quite large, which is what we were kind of dealing with in this situation.
Yes. Are there any questions? Okay, I'll read the recommendation. Moved by Councillor Zimmerman and seconded by Councillor Elliott, the Council of the Town of Minto hereby receives report Finance 2025-004, 2024 minutes of settlement and assessment adjustments prepared by the Deputy Treasurer for information purposes. All in favor? Okay, thank you. Thank you for good report and really good explanations. And I'll pass the chair back to the mayor.
Okay, the next item on our agenda then is Clerk 2024-002, the proposed Municipal Accountability Act in 2024. I think this was one, correct me if I'm wrong here, Clerk McRob, this is one of the ones that we pulled out.
That's correct, Mayor Turton. At the last January 7th meeting, correspondence was received from the Ministry of Municipal Affairs and Housing regarding the introduction of proposed Municipal Accountability Act. And the motion that was carried is that we bring back forward a report regarding that introduction of the changes to the municipal accountability with the Municipal Accountability Act. So in 2021, the province looked through consultations to strengthen the municipal codes of conduct following there was several high-profile workplace violence investigations that were made. And so there was a lot of pressure on the province to look at this from associations and councils, and the Women of Ontario Say No group is one of them as well. And then at the final legislative session of 2024, they put forward the legislation. So, and looking at the legislation and what they are doing, they did provide some information through the Ontario newsroom on it. And really what it all comes down to is making some changes that would standardize both the municipal code of conduct with mandatory training for members, as well as the integrity commissioners, establishing a role for the integrity commissioners of Ontario, in the municipal code of conduct training, and looking at matters and advising, introducing a mechanism for members of council and certain local boards to be removed or disqualified for 4 years for serious code violations. So that was one of the things is, you know, there isn't a lot to do. If someone is behaving extremely badly, the code of conduct really can't do much. This is giving a little more power in order to be able to do that. That power does still stand though with council, even if it would go to the Integrity Commissioner of Ontario, who would make a recommendation to the council. The council still has to make that decision together that that they would do that, that they would have someone removed from their position. So in looking at it, I mean, I think it's a good thing. I mean, we have had a very great council here with no concerns of code of conduct. But you are not looking at just yourselves, but future councils in years to come. So my recommendation is that we would support this.
So the recommendation moved by Deputy Mayor Anderson, seconded by Councillor Dirksen, that the Council of the Town of Minto hereby receives report clerk 2025-002, Proposed Municipal Accountability Act 2024, prepared by the clerk for information purposes. And further, that the Council of the Town of Minto officially supports the Proposed Municipal Accountability Act 2024, which is Bill 241. Questions for clerk? Go ahead, Councillor Dirksen.
So it actually hasn't been passed yet.
It has not. We still have time to say if we support it or if there are any changes that we would like to see within that until I think it is February. I'm not 100% on the date. It's sometime in February that we can make any kind of recommendations we would like to the ministry.
Okay, I don't have any suggestions, and whatever it is, we'll have to abide by it anyway. I just wondered if we had the cart before the horse when we're, what is the word, supporting it before we know exactly what it is.
They're laying out what the works
Yeah.
are, and what they're saying is it's giving us a complaint mechanism and reporting requirements as part of. Again, yeah, they're not setting out exactly how the code of conduct is being done and how, you know, what is going to be required.
Yeah, and I wouldn't expect that any of us would have a problem meeting it anyways.
Yes.
Because we've always had great councils here in Minto, but anyways, it just seemed a little bit cart before the horse when we are accepting it or approving it or just loving it to death and we don't even know what it is yet.
Yeah.
That was my thing.
So again, they give you the background on it, but you know, the proposed changes really is just adding that creation of the code of conduct with it being standardized. They're not providing that standardization at this time.
Go ahead, Councillor Potovitz.
Yes, through you, Mayor Turton. So if this does come into force, would the current council have to attend the training for the full comment?
That's a good question. Again, until we see it done wholesomely, we would not know at this point in time, or even what that training would look like. I believe that it said it may come into effect in 2026, but I'm not 100%. I'm going to double check that one. Yes. Yeah, I think I had that in there, 2026. Thank you.
Deputy Mayor Anderson, go ahead.
If I could just interject, it was discussed quite vigorously at the open bear pit session yesterday, and Minister Calandra defended it valiantly. Some people questioned it, the seriousness of removing somebody against the public will that had put them into position. But I thought it was maybe coming out this year, but if they say 26, it sounded like it was coming out very shortly. Maybe.
Yeah, go ahead, Councillor Anderson.
County council has a better memory than I do.
County Councillor Anderson.
Thank you, Mayor Turton. Ironically, this morning I was in the elevator with the Minister of Municipal Affairs and we were talking about that. So this is a nonpartisan bill, so every party in the province are supporting this. It has received first reading on the House, but they're dealing with so many other issues. They're bringing a lot of people. They're dealing with the Solicitor General, and what they want to do is they want to make sure it's tight enough that it supports the people that are involved, and they're almost if a complaint comes up, there's almost no chance of it challenging that because it's going to be so severe. The zero restrictions are really high. And he mentioned that because if it comes to that point, you know, somebody doesn't have the option or opportunity to challenge that. So it was, yeah, we, that was just this morning, so it was kind of interesting to, that's called elevator talk.
Thank you.
The
Councillor
criteria that
Anderson.
they have to meet are pretty stringent, and then it has to go to the Integrity Commissioner of Ontario, who would then have to make a recommendation to council, who all members of council would have to vote unanimously to do it. So I mean, it's not as simple as, I think they're being bad, let's get them out. There's a really a whole long process to that.
Councillor Dirksen, go ahead.
Just wondering if I could suggest an amendment that, at the last and further, that the Council of the Town of Minto receive the report for information. Would that be?
That would be a friendly amendment.
I'd second that motion. Just a quick question. What would you consider abuse? I don't know where.
Again, that's up to the Integrity Commissioner through the code of conduct that would be in place, and through workplace violence policies, et cetera. Again, it's not going to be, I don't think it's going to be as simple as something. It has to be pretty severe, I would think. And you can look around at some other municipalities that are having some issues, and I won't point any out. And you may see some things that people are dealing with.
That would probably be verbal abuse we're talking about, I would assume.
Could be, yes. That would be one of them.
It's not new. I mean, it's been talked about for a number of years.
Yes.
And I think that's likely one of the biggest reasons why they have taken so long, because, I mean, I mean, I'm not sure, I wasn't at the bear pit, but Deputy Mayor Anderson, when people are saying, councillors are saying, you're an elected official, and now the Integrity Commissioner can recommend that you're removed. It's like, I don't know, I've always looked at it like, you're not supposed to drink and drive, but when you do, and you get charged, they take your license away. It's kind of like that. But yeah, go ahead.
I don't disagree with that, and it was only one person
Okay.
that raised that point, and it was just Minister Calander's response was very firm. And frequently, you know, in Bearpit, a lot of things get passed along, but he was quite clear. He's not backing off on this. It is going to be in place, because there have been situations, and I believe most of it is verbal comments that are demeaning or gender related, and that's simply not tolerated anymore. It's not anything shocking. It's just things that are no longer tolerated. You can't talk about somebody's gender when they're making a decision or when they're speaking, and you can't. But so it was questioned that was the only question that came out, really, to my way of thinking, was we're removing somebody that the public has put in place. But if their behavior is not appropriate, then the decision is being made that that's not going to be tolerated.
Yeah, I think if you realize and understand the rules before, how can you challenge them? But other questions for our clerk? I'm going to call the question then. All in favor of that motion?
Sorry, if I may just
Sorry.
reread
Oh,
the
pardon me, yeah.
recommendation.
Yep.
So moved by Deputy Mayor Anderson and seconded by Councillor Dirksen, that the Council of Town of Minto hereby receives report CL 2025-002, Proposed Municipal Accountability Act 2024, prepared by the clerk for information purposes, and further that the Council of the Town of Minto receives the correspondence as information.
Okay.
That was a friendly amendment to it.
So are we okay with that change? Deputy Mayor Anderson and
Yes.
Councillor Dirksen? Okay. We okay to call the question then? All right. Everybody understand the change there? Okay. All in favor? Thank you very much. That's carried. Next item then is the catch and release, Justice in Ontario, Clerk 2025-003, and I'll ask Clerk McRobb to present this report.
Thank you. Again, this was correspondence that was considered at the January 7th, 2024 meeting, asking about the OPP support for the catch and release justice in Ontario. So I actually did find through Ontario Newsroom They did actually have a quote from the OPP president in support of this. So it's pretty simple. Again, they're calling for immediate federal action on bail reform as well. And the OPP do support this.
So the recommendation is moved by Councillor Potnovich, second by Councillor Gunson, that the Council of the Town of Minto hereby receives report CL 2025-003, catch and release justice in Ontario, prepared by the clerk for information purposes. Further, that the Council of the Town of Minto endorse the Town of Cobalt's resolution on catch and release justice. Everybody understand what this is about? Or is there questions? I'm going to call the question, and all in favor of this motion? That's carried. Thank you very much. Next item is our CAO is going to report 2025-001, Southwestern Ontario Isotope Coalition Partnership. And I'll ask our CAO, Mr. Burton, to enlighten us on this.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. Through you, Mr. Mayor, to Council, back in November 19th of 2024, at a regular meeting of Council, we had two delegations, two individuals who was one delegation, I should say, for the Southwestern Ontario Isotope Coalition. And they made a presentation. It was Mrs. Jessica Linthorne, who is the president and CEO of the Nuclear Innovation Institute. And she was joined by Mayor Boddy from the town or the city of Owen Sound. And they presented about the medical isotope work that's being done in Bruce County or in Southwestern Ontario as well. And they invited us as the town of Minto to join them. So this report basically asks for permission for us to, as staff, to go ahead and sign a partnership with them and to authorize the mayor and a staff member to be a delegate to any of those meetings going forward.
Okay, so recommendation moved by Councillor Zimmerman, seconded by Deputy Mayor Anderson, that the Council of the Town of Minto hereby receives report CAO 2025-01, Southwestern Ontario Isotope Coalition Partnership, prepared by the CAO for information purposes. Further, that the Council of the Town of Minto authorize the staff to submit a request, join the SOIC Regional Collaboration Partnership. Further, that the Council of the Town of Minto authorizes the mayor and the staff delegate chosen by the CAO to attend meetings as representatives of the Town of Minto. Any questions for our CAO on this? We all heard the delegation. I'm going to call the question. All in favor of that resolution? That's carried. Thank you very much. And we're down to announcements. Councillor Elliott, how would you like to start?
Yes, our Lions Club in Palmerston are selling Valentine's tickets again this year. They're $50, and probably it is our biggest fundraiser of the year. I know many of you have bought them in the past. If anybody wants one, be sure to contact any Lions or contact myself. And the return, if you win, and there's lots of chances to win, is very good. Lots of good prizes. What's the top prize, Ed? $3,000 is the top prize. There's $500 prizes. There's $50 prizes. And there's a couple, I think, Foodland and Home Hardware have certificates in there too. So it's a good return if you win. We sell about 700 tickets. There are 700 tickets. We sell out every year. So if you want them, make sure you get a hold of Ryan or myself, and I'll make sure you get one. And those who have got them in the past, please get a hold of me. We have lost the list of people that we sold to in the past, so we're trying to play catch up and find out who bought them. That's why I'm bringing it out this way. So thanks very much.
Thank you very much, Councillor Elliott. Ed, do you have tickets as well?
I do, but I don't have them with me, but I'll certainly have them again.
I do have tickets as well. I have nothing to report.
Yes.
Councillor Gunson.
I have nothing today.
Councillor Dirksen.
I don't really have anything to report. It's just that I was thinking that it's kind of an old-fashioned winter, and we have a lot of snow, a lot of cold, and people can sometimes get a little blue this time of year. So just important to stay active and stay well and stay healthy and stay engaged. And if you need help, I just encourage people to make those calls sooner rather than later. And I believe 211 is a number that can be called for some assistance, and they will help you find the help you need.
Thank you. Counselor Zimmerman?
Well, just like Counselor Dirksen just said, it is cold out and we are under a severe cold warning right now. So a good reminder that throughout Wellington County, our libraries are actually open for warming centers during their regular business hours. So it's open to any unsheltered youths, adults, or families. If you know anybody that's in need of being sheltered, there's also some numbers you can call. 226-310-3345. That's for adults over 25 or families, or young people 16 to 24 can call 519-837-3892. They would be able to possibly set you up into shelters, but that you have to ask for help. Like, we can't be there to do it for you. A couple other things here. Starting tonight, January 21st, 6:45 p.m. is drop-in learn how to play pickleball up in Clifford Arena. Cost you $3 to learn how to play this really fast-moving sport in the neighborhood. Friday, January 24th in Palmerston at the Palmerston Lions Clubhouse. They're offering a babysitting course for people from 11 and up. Need to register at thetownofminto.com.ca. The cost is $75. You need to pre-register. I don't know if there's any room left, but you could try. And then I just saw before I left, postings for summer jobs with the town has come out on the website. You have till the 29th of January to get your resumes in. So you can go on the website and see what jobs are available and get your names in. And that's it.
Are you going to Clifford tonight?
No.
Thank you, Counselor Zimmerman. Deputy Mayor Anderson?
Thank you very much. I don't really have anything except that we were at Roma. It was a good conference. The topics are not anything different than we would expect them to be. Homelessness, mental health issues, the healthcare system in general got a lot of coverage. Everybody looking at different sort of methods and how to recruit more physicians, and more talk about towns having to build centers. Doctors don't want to come and run offices. They want to walk into centers that are already existing. Lots of talk about infrastructure, water, storm water, sewer management. But it was a good conference. Nothing startling, but it was good to be down there and hear some of the things pertaining particularly to rural Ontario. And the highlight of it for me was we got a shout out from Lisa Thompson in regards to our video that Belinda and her group put together. So good commendations from her. And I think another group is following in our footsteps and going to do a video, one of the countries up near or areas up near the waterfront. But it was a nice shout out to the town of Minto for its work and its creativity.
Good, thank you. Thank you very much. Couple things. We had our northern representative from the from the Guelph Wellington Crime Stoppers retire. And the Crime Stoppers were looking for a representative to sit on the board of directors for Guelph Wellington Crime Stoppers. It's a very worthwhile organization. We get their annual, or quite often we get reports from them. They're alive and very, very strong in our community. We just need to have somebody get on the board. So if there is somebody out there that's interested, I know that past counselor Dennis Craven was a member for a number of years and he has retired. So we'd like to fill that position. Second thing is the Big Brothers Big Sisters Bowl-a-thon. It's coming up in February. Also, the coldest night of the year walk in Hairston is February 22nd. So you can either put a team in or go online and donate to a team that's already in. So, and I encourage you to do that. That's for homeless and some of the people that are struggling in our community. So, got a resolution here moved by Councillor Gunson, seconded by Councillor Elliott, that the committee of the whole convene into regular council. All in favor of that motion? That's carried. Thank you. Notices of motion. Anything under that heading? Okay, resolution moved by Councillor Dirksen, seconded by Councillor Potnovitz, that the council of the town of Minto ratifies the motions made in the committee of the whole. All in favor of that motion? That's carried. Thank you. Bylaws. Moved by Councillor Zimmerman, seconded by Deputy Mayor Anderson, that bylaw 2025-006 to confirm actions of the council of the corporation, town of Minto, respecting a meeting held January 21st, 2025, be read a first, second, and third time, passed in open council and sealed with the seal of the corporation. All in favor of the motion? Carried. Thank you. Adjournment. Moved by Councillor Zimmerman, seconded by Councillor Potnovitz, that the council of the town of Minto adjourned. Meet again at the call of the mayor. All in favor of that motion? That's carried. Thank you very much.